Hi, I'm Paul Malchow, creator of Union City Alliance, and today I'm here to talk to you about the threat and peril phases of the game. These are the last two phases of each turn in which the enemies and the villain go on the offensive. The fourth phase of each turn is the threat phase, where nearby enemies will attack you. Each enemy has a threat value on the right side of their card, which is the range which they will threaten from during this phase. Let's check out an example. Here, I'm playing Wrangler, who's on the Garcia Art Gallery. The Cemetery Dogs have a threat of 0, which means they only threaten heroes who are on their block. I'm on their block, so they are in range. Jessica Raptor over here has a threat of 1, and she's 1 block away, so she's also in range. Big Daddy Juju has a threat of 1, so I'm safe from the Voodoo Pimp because he's not in threat range. By the way, you may notice that Jessica Raptor is also in range of the Green Death. She will not threaten him right now because it's not his turn. These threats only pertain to the active hero, so only you get threatened during your turn. If Jessica Raptor is still in range of the Green Death on the Green Death's turn, she'll threaten him then. So, the Cemetery Dogs and Jessica Raptor are both in threat range and will both threaten me. The active hero chooses the order that the enemies threaten in, so I'm going to have the Cemetery Dogs threaten me first. When an enemy threatens, they first move to that hero's block, which is easy for the Cemetery Dogs because they're already there. Then, the enemy assaults, which means they deal me damage equal to their fight. Fight is also on the right side of each enemy card. When a hero is dealt damage, they can be defended using counters or gambits. Counters can be used when the card is in your hand, and gambits can be used when the card is in your active area. Right now, I'm going to use the counter on Tougher and the $2 Stake, discarding it to gain 2 defense. This reduces the damage they deal to 0, so I take no damage. Jessica Raptor threatens next. She moves to my block and deals me damage equal to her fight. With a much more severe 4 damage, I have Negate Gravity in my active area, so I can use its Gambit. I dismiss the card, which means putting it on my discard pile from my active area. I gain 3 defense, which reduces the damage down. I still have Supersonic Speedster in my hand, but that's my only other counter. I'm going to save it for either the Peril Phase, when the villain may deal damage, or my next turn, when I can use its 4 speed by activating it. I then take 1 damage, putting it on my character card. If I ever have as much damage as my max stamina, I'm taken down. Negate Gravity's Gambit has a second effect, which moves that enemy to another block, so I'll do that now. I'm going to move her back to the block she came from, so it's easier for the Green Death to deal with her on his turn. By the way, you'll see that counters and gambits have the word self or range on them. This tells you when they can be used. If they say self, they can only be used when the person with the card is being dealt damage. If they say range, they can be used when any hero in range, including you, is dealt damage. For example, if the Green Death got dealt damage, because he's within range 4 of me, I could use the counter on Supersonic Speedster to reduce the damage to him and draw a card to boot. Once all the enemies in threat range have threatened, the threat phase is over, and we go to the peril phase. This is when the main villain plays out their evil scheme. Each peril phase, we play the top card of the peril deck and do whatever it says. You only play 1 peril card during the peril phase, but just to show you what can possibly happen, I'm going to demonstrate a few peril cards. First, let's look at Family Business. This card tells you to escalate 1. Escalate means you take that many cards from the bottom of the plot deck and put them on the bottom of the next issue stack. We're currently in issue 2, so we move a card from the bottom of the plot deck to the bottom of the issue 3 stack. If I was on the same block as a mobster, Family Business would also make them use their special ability, but luckily I'm not. Now, let's see what happens if I had gotten Wrath of the Underworld as the peril card instead. It tells us to play a plot card. Villains' plot cards usually come in one of 3 types: enemies, challenges, and events. Events go right onto the trash and then get resolved, meaning you do whatever they say. Enemies and challenges, on the other hand, get played on the board. By default, they go on the block of the active hero. However, some enemies and challenges have debut effects that may change where they get played. The Raptor Racketeers have a debut that makes them go on the block with the most expensive Union card. The Cretaceous Club's debut puts it on a block based on its street number. The street number is at the top of the block as part of the address. Enemies and challenges stay on the board until they are defeated or overcome, and then they go onto the trash. You might have noticed that some of the Peril cards have insets. This is to remind you that some cards in the game will do something special now if they are in play. For example, the Crime Wave Peril card has 2 extra effects. If Professor Sorozinski is on the board, he will be unwillingly creating even more Dino Gangsters. If Stay Out of Our Way is on the board, then some more scaly goons will be making a beeline straight to you. Once you have played the Peril card, the last thing to do on the Peril phase is to check if the issue changes. This only happens if the plot deck is empty. When the issue changes, we do the following. First, we take the rules card off the top of the next issue stack. This goes on top of the old issue rules card, making it now issue 3 with any new rules that apply. Then, we shuffle the plot cards that make up the rest of the issue stack and put them down as the new plot deck. We then shuffle the city deck. Lastly, any block with a reusable action, shown in green, has 1 exhausted token removed from it. That's the whole issue change process, and will only happen 3 times at most in a given game. Once the Peril phase is over, it's the next player's turn. They are now the active hero and go through their own action, cleanup, draw, threat, and Peril phases. Players keep taking turns like this until either they are all taken down or they defeat the villain. The way to defeat each villain is different, and each is laid out in their sourcebook entries. That's the basics of the threat and Peril phases. Check out our other tutorial video to learn about action, cleanup, and draw, which are the first 3 phases of each turn. We also have videos about card mechanics and much more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon right here in Union City, heroes.